Not all ghosts haunt houses. Some haunt decisions. You are not who you think you are. You are who your wounds made you. You think you're the one in control, choosing who to love, what to pursue, what to fear. But what if something older, deeper, and far more invisible has been choosing for you all along? Not fate, not God, but a memory, a wound, a hidden emotional knot, formed years ago, often before you even had words to name it. It's called a complex, a mother complex that makes you chase women who feel familiar, not necessarily good for you. A father complex that makes you distrust men in power or become obsessed with proving yourself to them. An inferiority complex that whispers you're not enough, no matter what you accomplish. Complexes are not just feelings, they're blueprints. They shape how you react, whom you trust, what you avoid, and even how you sabotage your own happiness. And the most dangerous part? You don't know it's happening. You just think, why do I always end up in the same kind of relationship? Why does rejection cut me so deeply? Why do I keep running from success the moment I taste it? Because it's not you who's running, it's the child within you, still trapped in a story that never got a better ending. In this video, we go deep into the origin of complexes, into the way they manipulate your present by hijacking your past, and most importantly, how to untie these invisible knots before they tie your whole life into a loop. A complex, according to Carl Jung, is not merely a negative emotion or a bad memory. It's an unconscious cluster of thoughts, feelings, memories, and impulses, all wrapped around a specific psychological theme, often shaped during early emotional experiences. Jung described complexes as splinter personalities, parts of us that break off when we encounter something too overwhelming to process at the time. They don't disappear. They form their own little world within the psyche and operate independently. They have a voice, a will, a reaction, and when triggered, they hijack your behavior before you even realize it. Imagine a man who lashes out every time he feels criticized, not because the present moment deserves it, but because it pokes at an old wound from a hypercritical father. Or a woman who shuts down emotionally the moment someone gets too close, not because she doesn't want love, but because love once came with pain. These are not logical decisions. They're unconscious reactions, often beyond your awareness. That's the grip of a complex. Jung emphasized that everyone has complexes. They're not signs of mental illness. They're signs of being human, shaped by life, memory, trauma, and meaning. The danger lies not in having them, but in being ruled by them. To free yourself, you must first see them, not just intellectually, but experientially, through reflection, therapy, or deep emotional work. And once you shine light on these psychological knots, you begin to loosen them. The complex loses power the moment it is recognized. But not all complexes are the same. Some are born from unmet childhood needs, some from shame, others from grief, fear, or distorted love. In the next part, we'll explore the most common and most powerful ones: the mother complex, the father complex, the inferiority complex, and how they silently shape your relationships, ambition, and identity, often without you ever noticing. Not all complexes look the same. Some scream, some whisper, but they all shape how you relate to love, power, success, and even yourself. Let's explore a few of the most common ones and how they show up in everyday life. 1. The mother complex. This doesn't just refer to your literal mother, it refers to the internalized image of her, the emotional imprint she left on your psyche. For men, this can manifest in two extremes: constantly seeking nurturing, dependent women to fill a need he never outgrew, or rejecting intimacy altogether, resenting women who show care, fearing entrapment. For women, the mother complex may show up as self-sacrifice, guilt, or the pressure to be good, even at the cost of her identity. At its core, this complex often creates a distorted relationship with vulnerability, dependence, and emotional safety. 2. The father complex. The father complex revolves around issues of authority, worth, and recognition. A man with a wounded father complex may feel he's never good enough, always chasing success to prove he's valuable. Or he may rebel against every form of structure, unable to respect boundaries or leadership. A woman with this complex might idolize powerful, emotionally unavailable men, mistaking distance for strength, or feel unseen in male-dominated environments. This complex often hides behind ambition, perfectionism, or deep anger at being controlled. 3. The inferiority complex. Perhaps the most widespread and the most quietly destructive. This complex convinces you that you're less than others, even when no one is comparing. It speaks in whispers like, "Don't try too hard. You're not smart enough. They'll find out you're a fraud." Sometimes it turns inward, breeding shame and paralysis. Other times it overcompensates, pushing people to appear confident, dominant, or even arrogant, just to hide the fear underneath. These complexes don't disappear just because you're aware of them, but once you recognize their voices, you stop mistaking them for your own. And once you do, you start asking better questions. Not "what's wrong with me," but "where did this begin? Whose voice is this really? What need was never met? And how am I still chasing it?" In the next part, we'll follow the story of someone unknowingly ruled by a complex until life forced him to face it. Because sometimes healing doesn't begin with insight, it begins with a breaking point. Daniel was the kind of man people admired from a distance. Sharp suits, calm voice, always composed. By 38, he had built a multi-million-dollar consulting firm, mentored dozens of young professionals, and owned a penthouse overlooking the Manhattan skyline. On paper, he had it all, but his personal life told a different story. He had been through 5 serious relationships in 10 years, each one starting beautifully and ending in emotional wreckage. He was drawn to soft-spoken, emotionally expressive women. They made him feel needed, in control, like the protector. At first, he adored them. He'd plan their lives, solve their problems, handle everything. But slowly, things would shift. He'd grow cold, dismissive, begin making comments like, "You're too sensitive. Why can't you just toughen up? I can't carry everything for you." And then came the silence, the shutdown, eventually the breakup. And Daniel, once again, walked away believing the same story. I always attract women who fall apart. What he didn't realize was that the collapse wasn't theirs. It was his, playing out in disguise. It took a breakdown during the pandemic, when isolation made him confront his patterns, to finally seek therapy. In one session, his therapist asked, "When did you first learn that love meant taking control?" Daniel answered without thinking, "My dad. He ran everything. My mom never got a say. She cried quietly, He hated weakness. So I learned, don't be weak and don't let anyone around you be weak either. The therapist leaned in. And when you choose emotionally soft women, do you think you're protecting them or recreating your mother so you can finally win the power struggle your father never let you enter? Daniel didn't answer. He just nodded, slowly. It wasn't a dramatic revelation. It was quieter, more painful. He had become the very man he used to resent. That's the thing about complexes. You don't live them. They live you until you stop and turn the mirror inward. From that moment on, Daniel's journey shifted. He stopped trying to fix women and started healing the boy inside who never got to speak. Complexes don't disappear with age. They vanish when faced, and they stop running your life the moment you stop running from them. In the next part, we'll explore how to recognize the complex you carry and how to loosen its grip before it becomes your story on repeat. Complexes don't vanish just because you understand them. They're not erased by awareness alone. They must be faced, felt, and integrated. And that's not an overnight process. It's an inner reckoning. So where do you begin? 1. Recognition. Ask better questions. Awareness starts with a pause. Instead of reacting, ask yourself, am I responding to this moment or to a wound I've never fully healed? When you feel overly triggered, shut down, or emotionally charged beyond reason, that's usually not about the present. It's about a younger part of you, afraid, unseen, or repeating something familiar. The goal isn't to blame yourself. It's to begin listening to what your emotions are really trying to protect. 2. Journaling and pattern tracking. Write down moments when your reactions feel disproportionate, when you felt rejected, angry, ashamed, or helpless. Note what happened, how you responded, and what it reminded you of. Over time, patterns will emerge. You might notice you always panic when someone withdraws, or you become cruel when you feel unseen. These aren't personality flaws. They're signals. Signals that something old is still living in you. 3. Inner work, shadow integration. Carl Jung called it shadow work, the act of turning toward the parts of yourself you've disowned, the fearful child, the needy one, the controlling one, the rage you inherited but never chose. Working with a therapist, a coach, or even through self-guided reflection, you begin to witness your complex rather than live it blindly. And that witnessing creates space. Space between the trigger and the response. Space to choose differently. 4. Forgiveness and letting go. This doesn't mean justifying what hurt you. It means releasing your grip on the story. You forgive not because the past was okay, but because carrying it forward keeps you trapped in it. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's the quiet strength of choosing freedom over repetition. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the wound. You'll still be triggered. You'll still fall back sometimes. But each time, you'll fall with more awareness and rise with more clarity. Because the moment you stop identifying with your complex is the moment you begin living from something deeper. Not the wound, but the soul beneath it. In the final part, we'll reflect on how choosing to heal your complexes isn't just a personal act. It's how you break generational patterns and stop passing the knot onto someone else. You don't need to fight your emotions. You don't need to suppress your anger, your sadness, your fear. You're not weak for feeling. You're human. But you do need to ask, who is really reacting here? Is it me, or a version of me that never got to heal? Because most of us don't live our lives. We live our complexes. We speak from them. We love from them. We leave or cling because of them. And then we call it fate. We call it bad luck. We call it just who I am. But what if that's not who you are? What if underneath the pattern, there's a person not defined by their childhood, not limited by their past, a person who can choose differently now? You don't have to become someone new. You only have to stop being ruled by something old. Because the real strength isn't in controlling your feelings, it's in understanding where they come from and who taught you to feel them that way. You may not have chosen what happened to you, but you can choose whether to let it happen again. That choice, to pause, to reflect, to heal, is the beginning of freedom and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of becoming who you truly are. If this video spoke to something inside you, you're not alone. We're all carrying something. But healing begins the moment we stop pretending we're fine. If you found value here, consider subscribing, not just to the channel, but to your own journey inward. I'll be here, sharing, reflecting, and walking beside you, one layer at a time.